Hey everybody, welcome to the power session. We are live. As usual, give just a minute or two for people to jump on, but I am not going to wait to get into a couple of things. And welcome all of you here. I'm just getting a few things set up as running all over the place today, but looking forward to talking about something that I have been perplexed by, challenged by, sworn by, up and down all over the place about with morning routines. So looking forward to getting into that with you guys today. So welcome to this week's power session. We're going to cover some things. Those of you here for the first time, those of you watching this recording, if you've never seen this before, my name is Paul Blanchard. I'm the president of the Habit Finder and the Mandino Leadership Institute. If you've never heard of the Habit Finder, it is one of the greatest tools in personal development ever created, if I could be so bold, having used it with over 150,000 entrepreneurs and business leaders that would agree there's nothing like it out there that measures your thinking patterns. The way that an X-ray can take a picture of a broken bone or an EKG can measure the rhythms of your heart, the Habit Finder profile is a mathematically and scientifically extensive tool that provides a really simple, easy process for you to be able to measure your thinking patterns. Or in other words, your thinking habits. Those are the habits we're looking to find. Because if you want to change your life, you want to change your reality, you want to change how things show up for you, that all starts with your thoughts. A lot of us are playing these personal development games downstream from our thoughts that aren't bad, but short of shifting things at the source, you're going to continue to have challenges by focusing just on your behavior, just on what you do, or focusing just on your emotional spectrum and your personality and different things like that. Those are really important things to be aware of. But real change, real shift, real identity when it comes to your life starts with how you think, your thinking patterns. And we've been able to create the 36 proven pinnacles of who you are in terms of your thoughts, your true voice up here, and then where some of those have been skewed to sabotage or support your life. So if you're new to this, jump on habitfinder.com, take it for free. We don't charge for that assessment because the value of what we do is really what we get to take people through that actually shifts and changes how that assessment shows up and ultimately shift and changing how your life is showing up, how your business is working, how you're showing up as a leader, how you're selling and everything in between. So glad you're here. Glad we get the opportunity to talk through some things. See a lot of familiar faces on here. Good morning. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Super excited to be with you today to talk a little bit about a staple in personal development. In fact, when people ask me how to improve their life, where is the first place you should focus? The very first place you should focus, more often than not, I'm going to tell you, it is how you start your day. Your morning is where I recommend you should focus first. Now, a couple interesting things about the mornings, okay? I hear a lot of people, because let's just get this out of the way, okay? First and foremost, this. That is a relative term, okay? Early is going to be different for everybody, but a must, a requirement to start your day intentionally is to start it early. Start it before you would normally just fall into your day, or your day pulls you into it, or your kids pull you into it, or whatever it is. Find what early is for you, okay? I've got some clients where 8 a.m. is early for them. I've got other clients where 3:30 a.m. is early for them. So wherever you are in that spectrum, find yours. Find your early. Because the first place I would tell anyone to look that wants to really improve themselves and therefore improve their outcomes in life would be to look at their mornings. I can look at any time my life has felt in disarray, out of alignment. And every one of those times, I'm going to have disarray in how I start my day. I'm going to have inconsistencies. I'm going to have unintentional circumstances in the morning. Some of them I created unconsciously. Some of them were curveballs. A lot of them we give way too much power to. So in terms of just getting this out of the way, the standard for the morning should be early. Whatever that is for you. I would take whatever you're doing now and wake up 30 minutes earlier to start. And if you're going to take that on, okay, I highly recommend that you avoid the challenge that most people have, and that is that they go, okay, I want my mornings to be different, so I need to change my evenings. Paul, I'd get up early if I could just go to bed earlier. I just need to go to bed earlier. Okay? Anyone ever actually heard themselves say this out loud? Very common approach. The challenge is you're not dealing with the source, okay? You're not dealing with who you are. You're not dealing with your identity, because I hear that a lot too. I'm not a morning person. I like to sleep in. Identity, making it nearly impossible for you to actually shift the way that you're thinking. But one of the best places to start is to start at the source. The source is the morning. I guarantee you, you will be 100% more successful if you allow your morning to teach your body to go to bed earlier than to try to teach your body to go to bed earlier so you can get up in the morning. I'll say that one more time because it's really important. You will be 100% more successful if you allow your morning to teach your body to go to bed earlier than to try and teach your body to go to bed earlier to wake up earlier in the morning. That's my first piece. So with most people, we are in agreement that I believe you should wake up early. But I don't believe there is a standard for early for everybody. I believe everybody's got a slightly different early depending on what you're doing and what your career is and all those different things. What I don't think should impact that is that we're just night owls and we like to stay up and watch movies and whatever till 1 a.m. Well, start waking up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and eventually you're not going to be able to keep doing that. Your body will take care of the evening itself, I promise. Just stop allowing the night before to determine the commitment of the next morning. And that's actually some powerful lessons for a lot of other areas of life. One of the other reasons why I love having clients focus in on their morning first. It's the greatest thing that you could do in terms of the snowball effect, the compounding effect of every other area of your life is how you start your day, how intentionally you start your day, what you focus on to start your day, okay? So when it comes to morning routines, I will concede that I believe a routine should be to get up early more often than not. Now, I adopt a similar principle to as my coach has. I get up at about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, 5 days a week, and then I'll get up oftentimes when I'm really in the zone for something in terms of my physicality, in terms of going on a hike or going to the gym or whatever. I'll get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock on Saturday, and then I'll usually sleep until 7:30, and then climb out of bed at 8 o'clock on Sundays. Just lay there relaxing, not needing to be anywhere, not having to get up. That's what works for me, okay? Some of you, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to take a day that's different from any other day in terms of when you wake up. Now, are there plenty of Sunday mornings where I still wake up at 4:30, 4:45? Absolutely. But I've learned to be able to quiet my mind and to be able to fall back asleep, or at least just be able to relax and mentally rehearse things and think about things and not get annoyed that I'm awake and all that kind of energy. So in terms of finding what works for you, that's really a critical piece of all of this. So what I want to talk about today specifically, though, okay, is, again, I'm conceding early is important. Early is a critical factor. Everything after early, completely up to you, okay? Completely up to you. In fact, what I'm here to contend is that when it comes to your morning, those of you who profess a morning routine to be the greatest thing on earth, those of you who have been living by a morning routine for a long time, okay, there's plenty of great books out there. I won't mention what they are, but they're miraculous with their mornings and several other different things. There's great insights about mornings, okay? One of my mentors, Eben Pagan, who has an incredible program about waking up productive, has some great tips about how to structure your mornings. But I'm here to contend that this sucks. The routine. That's what we want to be careful of. And I've gone back and forth with this intuitively and experimented on myself a lot. That's one of the reasons why I love coaching is my life, my physicality, my spirituality, my mentality is just a big old laboratory that I'm constantly experimenting with. When I read something, I'm not just going to go, that's true. and I'm going to do that. Every once in a while, in retrospect, it just puts great words to what I've already been trying to figure out how to explain. It's like, yes, that is true. But if it's something I want to challenge in my own life, I'm going to approach it with a whole lot of curiosity. I love curiosity. I've talked about this on here before, because curiosity can contend with things that are perceived as positive or things that are perceived as negative with the same productive energy. So I'm going to get curious about it, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to experiment. This is the reason why I'm not a big fan of routine. One of my clients sent me this amazing passage, which was like, it was like divine, because I was in this space thinking about my morning routine and what I do and getting really caught up on that routine piece, especially because one of the critical pieces of my morning routine was a very physical and strenuous workout. I'd wake up at 4:30, 4:45, I'd take my pre-workout, I'd do some scripture study, some spiritual time briefly, and then I'd get in the car and I'd head to the gym and I'd pound the weights. I'd do plyometric exercises, CrossFit style circuit training, all kinds of different things. This was a staple of my morning routine for years, and everything else would build around it. Well, my back is not in a condition that I can do that. I can't work out the way I want to, and I've seen my morning routine suffer because of it, because it was a routine. And along with the passage that my client sent to me the same morning that I was wrestling with this, that said that the challenge with routines is that it takes what should be an experience of creation to set the tone for creation, and it turns it into a left brain, analytical, structured activity. As soon as it becomes a routine, which is interesting because your body loves routines, they're called habits. And we are pro-habit here. But the risk of habits is the action becoming less conscious, less intuitive, less creative, and more rote, more ingrained, more unconscious, more automatic. There are parts of that that are really important. But then there's this whole other side of what is the point of starting your day intentionally, starting your day to set you on the path of what we consider to be the most important thing you can do, and that is to be in creation. To be in creation is the whole point. That's what we're doing. That's what entrepreneurs are. That's what leaders are. That's what the people we work with, the hundreds of thousands of people we've worked with, that's what they are. They're creators. So if the way we start our day sets the tone for everything else, we're going to want to learn to start our day in creation. And there is very little routine about the substance of creation. Okay? What we want to understand is that we want to have structure, we want to have routine, but it is so easy for your routine and your structure to choke the creation out of your morning. I mean, think about it. Those of you who have a solid morning routine versus when you first got into it, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 the impact your current routine was having, those of you who have been doing it for more than, let's say, 6 months or even more than a year? The impact it had when you first started to master it, when you first had to start figuring out how to make it work and where your rhythm was and how it fit. The impact it was having on your creativity, the impact it was having on your problem solving, the impact it was having on your inspiration and your intuitive feelings and the way to challenge yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 early on versus now, 6 months, a year plus later. More than likely, it's gone down a little bit in terms of the parts of your brain that are even firing. If we had you attached to a functional MRI, those first few weeks or even those first few months where you're implementing a new routine were probably way more activated, way more creative than the times that you've got it totally dialed in. Now, there are things about a morning routine that I'm all for having dialed in, okay? And I'm all for structure, okay? But not at the loss of creativity. I'm also not making this an either-or conversation, okay? I'm not saying that you should bail on having a morning routine and that if you've got one that's working for you, you should throw it off a cliff, okay, and start from scratch. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, that could be a really dangerous and systemic, all or nothing reaction to what I'm saying. Now, I'm using some strong language, okay? why morning routines are overrated. I'm doing that on purpose to catch people's attention, to create a pattern disruption. That's my job. As a coach, that's what I'm doing with my clients. I'm looking for patterns that aren't serving them, and then we disrupt them. And in the midst of the disruption, can we create a new level of consciousness, a new level of awareness, and ultimately a new level of identity to support the new actions that will lead to the new outcomes that someone would like to create? That's what we do. So yes, I'm trying to create a pattern interrupt, a disruption of your patterns when it comes to your morning routines. And for some of you who have had such a hard time finding a set morning routine, like those of you that have read Mornings That Can Be Really Miraculous, is what I'll call it, that you've had such a tough time because your brain naturally works in all or nothing. And I could count on two hands the number of people that actually sustain consistently everything that book tells you to do in the morning. That's what works for them. That's what's worked for a ratio of the entire sphere of influence that they had, enough to say, this is it. This is how your morning should be. And I'm not contending with any elements of it. I'm just saying that if that's not working for you, it may be because you are a creator. And we want to help you be more intentional about your creation. So what you're going to want to do is to build infrastructure, build things around your morning routine that foster creation, that foster intuition, that foster creativity and problem solving and rejuvenation and recovery, and actually checking in with where you really are. You want to be real, genuine, and authentic, which if there was a Mount Olympus or a Mount Rushmore of our objectives for our clients, it would be to be real, genuine, and authentic. If you want to be real, which is where it starts, you want to focus on two things: relationships and reality. Relationships, how you're connecting with people. Reality, in terms of what your reality is, and quit trying to play reality bumper cars with everybody else, and surrendering your reality so you can start to understand what other people's reality might be. And one of the greatest ways to do that is to be okay with your current reality. A lot of what bugs us in other people is what bugs us about our reality. They just remind us of it, and we take it out on them because they're an easy target right in front of us. Okay, now, going on a little bit of a tangent, so let me reel this back in. Creation. So what we're contending here is not to create a morning routine. I'm a big fan of words for those of you that have ever been on more than one of these. I would say what you want to create is a morning experience. Morning experience. This stays in alignment with creation. That question alone, what do you want to be involved, or what do you want to create in your morning experience versus what should you have in your morning routine? Okay, what do you want to experience in the morning versus what do you want to do in the morning? That right there is critical. What do you want to experience in the morning versus what do you want to do in the morning? It can feel subtle, and it should. All personal growth should feel subtle, should feel like little degrees, slight changes, understanding that small hinges swing big gates, that a little change over here makes a massive change down there in the trajectory of your life. A little change in the way you connect with people can make a massive difference in the way you connect with others and the boundaries you have in those connections and the way you lead and sell and all those different things. So it should feel subtle. Shouldn't feel like, oh, need to throw everything out and start from scratch. That is not the point of this power session. But having the opportunity to say, simply ask, what do I want to experience in the morning, rather than what do I want to do in the morning? That's the shift that the words that my client sent me earlier this week has really resonated with me, because I love asking myself questions, because I see how helpful it is to ask my clients questions. So of course, I'm going to ask myself questions, just like I love the questions that my coach asks me. And if I just go, that's a great question, and go ask my clients that, and I don't really take it deeper into my own conversation, I'm not going to have an experience. So the reason I'm saying morning routines are overrated is because what you'll want to start creating is a morning experience, not a morning routine. A morning experience is all about, let me use a better marker for this. This one's fading already. A morning experience is about creation. A morning routine's top priority is about structure. A morning experience focuses on who you want to be and what you want to become. A morning routine focuses on what you want to do and even sometimes on what you want to have. A morning experience gives us the opportunity to be able to be intentional. A morning routine gives us the opportunity to be automatic. Okay? I mean, I'm having this experience with you right now, just as I consider these two. Any others you would add to that? Anything else from anybody that's watching that you would add to what a morning experience could do, or what it would create, or what a morning routine might create? We'll give that just a minute because I know there's a little bit of a delay on this. But I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts in terms of as you're starting to think about the difference between these two. Morning experience, okay? What you want to get the opportunity to be creative, okay? Or creation, is probably more what I was going for. Focuses on creation, focuses on structure, focuses on being, focuses on doing and having, focuses on intentional versus automatic. See if anybody else. Routine, mindless. I mean, technically it is. That's your mind is constantly trying to divert power, okay, to habits and to automation, mindless activities. If it thinks it can assign an activity as something more mindless, it's going to do that all day long because it wants to reserve as much brain power as possible for if you get attacked or something bad happens and you need to be aware and available and all that kind of stuff. So an experience is more open. That's awesome. And a routine might be more closed. Love that language. How many of you are creating isolated experiences in the morning? Isolation. How many of you would depict your morning routine as being isolated? I've talked to people who are like, don't bug me during my morning routine. And there's parts of that that are important. I am a big fan of your morning experience involving really connecting with you. But a huge part of creation is connecting with others. So what might you be able to supplement or add to your morning experience that could foster that kind of creation in terms of connecting with others? Okay? Prayer, journaling, and Bible study. Awesome. Perfect. So Tim, what I would challenge you to do is think of prayer, journaling, and Bible study in terms of an experience and a routine. These are great opportunities to just make subtle shifts, if anything, just to get your mind thinking about it differently so it gets out of its routine, gets out of its habits. I love that you start with that because a lot of people could put that down as they're early. Like early is non-negotiable. Prayer, journaling, and Bible study is non-negotiable. Okay, awesome. So let's take prayer, journaling, and Bible study and think about it in terms of an experience and a routine. How could we change it up so it gets to be a creative, becoming, intentional, and open experience versus a structured, automatic, mindless, closed experience? Which still, because of what you're doing, you're praying, you're journaling, and you're Bible studying, three things that I'm a big fan of, even if it's a routine, it's still going to benefit you, which makes it hard. This isn't necessarily good versus bad. There's a lot of benefits in routines. I'm not here to create a false dichotomy. I'm not here to say routine bad, experience good. I'm saying routine has the potential of not being as good as experience. In fact, if we really wanted to consider it, we should build it on a foundation of routine, just for its consistency, okay, for its persistence, and then build the experience, okay? We've got the foundation and the house, and build the experience as everything that's above ground, keeping it open. I'm a big fan, so remember, this is not good versus bad. This is just getting ourselves to look at things a little bit different. An experience will create new opportunities. You can just put new. Approaching your morning experience allows it to stay new. And there's a lot about the psychology of the brain that you want to keep things fresh, keep things new. That's why I recommend that you read the scrolls sometimes, you listen to the scrolls sometimes, you read the scroll of somebody else sometimes, you read the scroll and change the pronoun sometimes. So rather than saying, I will greet this day with love in my heart, you say, you will greet this day with love in your heart. That was taught to me by my coach because we didn't learn about ourselves by hearing I things. We learned about ourselves and who we should be and what our limitations are and what defines our identity from you stuff. You're stupid. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You suck. Whatever, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all along the lines of creating the new, okay? Tammy was asking somebody, I guess I'm setting a good example for something they want to do in terms of a whiteboard. And I do have on my order list for Amazon a bigger whiteboard, okay? Because I've shared some things that just, we're getting to places in this power sessions where this whiteboard is just, it's been really, this whiteboard's been really good to me, but it's time to go big or go home. So it's time to have a whiteboard that we can really, okay, I'm looking at like 70, 72 inches across, that we can really map some things out. Because I can't take a lot of the credit in these power sessions. It's really the whiteboard doing all the heavy lifting, all the hard work. So inspiration, thank you. Inspiration comes in an experience versus a routine. Because the way the brain is naturally structured, and again, we don't have to have good and bad versions of these words. It doesn't have to just be this and that, okay? Experience allows for connection to emotions. I love that. Thank you. Very cool. So again, want to reiterate a couple things. This is not about your morning routine being bad. This is about constantly keeping the understanding of our basic framework of our neurology and our psychology and our thinking habits that we want to be approaching an experience. Take any routine and think about and separate the routine part of it that supports the foundation of consistency and preventing too much intensity. Those are great things about a routine because that's how the brain works. It doesn't respond well to intensity. It responds well to frequency, to consistency, okay? So we want to make sure that that is involved, and I'm going to give you a really powerful equation for that in just a second. But we want to constantly be pushing the envelope of the experience side. We want to constantly be exploring our boundaries and our belief systems and our thoughts and our identities about creation, about who we are, about our intentionality, about how open we are, about new things, inspiration, emotions. I'm a big fan of taking 1 or 2 days out of the week and doing something totally different that still starts early, that is still intentional, focused on creation and experience, but is like a total curveball to your brain. Like for Tim, I would say, Tim, one morning this week, I want you to go, depending on the landscape of where you're at, I want you to go on a hike and go somewhere you've never been before or you don't normally do your journaling, Bible study, and prayer. And do it out in nature somewhere one morning this week. That would be keeping the experience alive. And that can go a long way, even if the next several weeks you're doing journaling, Bible study, and prayer, as you mentioned, back at your house or at your home office or wherever it is. To be able to change things up like that is really, really powerful. That's why I want you focused on your morning experience, not your morning routine, okay? Ooh, Sally gave a great comment. The challenge with the habit of routine is that it can be something you just want to get done rather than something you're enjoying. That joy, perfect. Joy is another one we could add to the experience column. Fantastic. Morning show with other coaches, love it. Ooh, Lynette wants to paint in the morning now. Love that. So cool. Building in some of your hobbies, some of your dreams, some of the things that bring out all this stuff and doing it in the morning. That's rad. Love that. Yes, experience God, not just do the things that help, which is better than not doing anything. Again, we're not arguing good or bad. It's what's tough about growth is often your personal growth is not about good and bad. It's about good and a little bit better and a little bit better and the best. And then as soon as you get to the best, you need to step back and reevaluate because the best can become routine really easily and go back to the good, the better, the best, and keep going through that. journal, read personal growth books, and exercise. How to change that up? It may just be changing up where you do it, changing up the book that you're using, changing up the type of exercise that you're doing. You can get creative in a lot of ways about how to experience that stuff without having to change the basic tenets of your structure. Now, a couple things about that, okay? I got to flip ahead a little bit. Just make sure someone called out tabs. Who called out tabs? I just flew by that. Oh, Chris threw out tabs, of course. Okay. All right. So a couple of quick things under the surface of all this. Just some structural things I want you to understand. There are three things that should be taken care of in your morning experience, okay? Your spirituality, whatever that is to you. Spirituality, your physicality, and your mentality. Your morning experience should hit on all three of these. It doesn't have to be in that order. I remember thinking for a long time that I had to take care of my spirituality first. Now, with that said, I'm a big believer that starting your day off with prayer is a really powerful thing to do. But that doesn't mean that then I need to go dive into scripture study and devotionals and all these different things before I go and take care of my workout. In fact, there have been times that if I take care of my workout first, okay, before, as Og taught us, that if I wake up and it is not my last day, scroll 5, that there are many that this was their last day, but if this wasn't my last day, I will fall to my knees and give thanks. I'm a big believer in taking care of that one pretty early on and every day. But then oftentimes I'll want to pour into my cup of physicality to be in an even stronger position to dive into the experience of spirituality and mentality. Okay? So that's what I recommend. Now, in terms of building the infrastructure, okay, to be able to support this, okay, just pretend that these are the pillars that are supporting the routine of your morning experience. So the routine here is all about consistency, persistence, and frequency, preventing too much intensity, okay? Keeping us focused. It's to support these things, but these things are what we're experiencing. We want to experience spirituality, not just consistency, persistence, and frequency in spirituality. We want to experience physicality. So how do we determine, okay, the structure? Well, it's the same way we determine the structure of anything. Anytime you're looking to implement structure into your life or evaluate the structure that currently exists, it should be able to answer one question. Because this is one of the primary drivers of creation and creativity. Does this make my life simpler? Does this make my life simpler? End of story. Yes, then further consideration or immediate implementation, depending on what it is. No, end of story. Stop there. It's not structure that you need. It's not structure that will serve you. So as you consider your morning experience and you start building structure into it, simply ask yourself, does this make my life simpler? Now, huge difference, and this is key in implementing structure in your life or even in how you're starting your morning creation. And why simpler? Because simplicity is one of the primary active ingredients of the recipe of success. Simplicity is the primary active ingredient in the recipe of success and growth and everything else and creation. But there is a massive difference, huge difference between simpler and easier. We are not talking about, does this make my life easier? Sometimes what can make your life simpler can also make it easier, but if easier is the primary qualification, that is a dangerous road for the entrepreneurial mind, for the business leader mind. That is a slippery slope to head down. seeking things that make our life easier versus seeking things that make our life simpler. Now, what's beautiful is if we seek to embrace and connect and contribute and add value to this world, and we seek to do it with simplicity, to find the simple things in life, guess what life will become as a natural outcome? It will become easier as a natural outcome, okay? As in what comes out at the end after doing it, the lag measure. We don't seek easier as a lead measure. We seek simplicity. We seek connection. We seek creation. That's what we seek as far as simplicity in our lives and what we're looking to do, not looking for a way to make our life easier. Okay, awesome. So, in summary, morning routines are not bad. What we want to constantly be doing, what we want to consistently be doing, let me be careful with my language as I share. What we want to consistently be doing is asking ourselves, what about this is routine and what about this is experience, and maintaining a good, the numbers are arbitrary, but to give you something to wrap your head around, 80-20, 20% structure to keep it simple, keep it consistent, keep it persistent, keep it at the right frequency so it's not too intense, and 80% creation and experience and open and creating new stuff and connection, all the things that are going to support being more intentional and creating what you want to have in your life. So thank you so much for jumping on today. I hope this power session was beneficial for you as you consider that if there is one thing you could focus on tomorrow to improve your life, it would be the way you start your day. The way you start your day. And I believe everyone should start it early. But I also believe that everyone has their own definition of early. But challenge yourself there. Challenge yourself, because getting up early makes life simpler. It does. Ask anyone who has been able to create that habit in their life. Waking up earlier makes life simpler. But you will find out as you start to wake up earlier whether you're wanting life to just be easy or not. Because if you want life to be easier primarily, you will have a majorly difficult, if not impossible, time figuring out how to wake up earlier. So focus on a morning experience. Set the tone for the day of creation and intentionality and intuition and inspiration and being open and experiencing new things and new people. Set the tone in the morning and focus on your experience with the routine to support it, not the point of it. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day. We'll see you next week.